Sometimes what I do for a woman tells me my interest in her. I might give somebody a little more leeway if I'm more interested in them than not, but not much. But, with my girlfriend, she lost her job about a week ago. She's, younger and hasn't had the years of job searching that I have, particularly in the new market. And so I spent yesterday, I was doing some training, but alternatively, I was on my iPad also looking up Indeed jobs for her because I know her very well. And I was applying her for jobs that she might not have considered.
You're listening to the premier podcast for men who want to not only be better with women, but want to be better men in general. This is the Come On Man podcast. And here's your host, Paul Bauer.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another week of Come On Man. If you haven't done so already, please like, subscribe, hit those notifications. You all know what to do. Drop a comment below, your favorite emoji. Any comment will do. You know what's going on. It's all about boosting the algorithm, Follow me on social media. The links are in the description. I'm on all the good platforms. Get on the email list.comeonmanpod.com. I'll send you some free stickers for your troubles. And then if you like those stickers, they're also available as merch at merch.comeonmanpod.com. You can get t-shirts, hats, hoodies, coffee mugs, all the fun stuff like that. If you guys have signed up for the email list and you haven't seen an email from me, it's probably stuck in your mail filter. So DM me on Instagram. We'll get that figured out. But for whatever reason, I use MailChimp. And for whatever reason, certain email carriers just automatically block MailChimp stuff. So if you haven't received an email from me and you have signed up for an email, signed up for the email list and you haven't got your free stickers or whatever, DM me on Instagram. We'll work it out. Check out the Law of Attraction course. LOA.comeonmanpod.com. It's a mindset course, right? It's chick crack free. It's chick crack free. It's a lot of people watch the movie The Secret, right? They watch the movie The Secret, and The Secret, it's got a lot of woo-woo nonsense. It's a lot of positivity grift type stuff. A lot of people look at it and they think it's genies granting wishes, and that's not how any of this works. It's not how any of this works, right? It's a psychological experience at the end of the day. So check out my course because I break it down into the psychological explanation for the law of attraction. And it just makes it so much easier for you to understand. Check that out, LOA.comeonmanpod.com. And then finally, get on the Patreon, patreon.com/comeonmanpod. You can join for as little as $10. Last week on Thursday, we had our first meeting. We had our first happy hour hangout. All the premium members of the Patreon showed up for that. And it was awesome, man. We had a good conversation. All of us, we had a good time. We had some drinks. One of the guys in the group, he just brought some soda water or whatever, whatever you want to bring to the group is fine. Okay. No judgments. We talked about all sorts of things. We worked on all sorts of things, and it was good. It's good. Just a good time for guys to get together. No judgments. Just a fun opportunity for guys to hang out. Don't miss the next one. It's going to happen next month. I haven't scheduled it yet, but get on the Patreon now. It's only $10, right? If you guys showed up for last week's happy hour hangout, tell a friend. Tell a friend. It was a good time. I had a good time anyway. All right. My guest this week is my 3% brother, David. He was referred to me by 3% brother, Luke. Luke's been on the podcast like a billion times. We got him into the 3% brotherhood, And he was, when I got him into the 3% Brotherhood, he was still on his search for a good woman. And I believe he's found that good woman. We talk about that today. He's an older gentleman. I believe he's around 58 years old at this time. Correct me if I'm wrong, David. Comment below. Pretty sure he's around 58, or he's going to be 58 this year. And, there's a lot of older guys that find themselves on the dating circuit. They find themselves on the dating circuit, and dating is not what they thought it was, right? Because modern dating is totally different than it was 20 years ago, 30 years ago, right? And so a lot of guys find themselves on the dating circuit now, and they're like, what the hell is going on? Well, David's managed to overcome all of that. He's found a good woman. He's with her right now. He tells us about that experience, and I will bring you that conversation right after these words. Are you tired of holding back your thoughts and opinions? Ready to let loose with like-minded men? Introducing the ultimate monthly video-based happy hour for men. Join us for an exclusive unfiltered experience where you can talk about women, cars, movies, and anything else on your mind. Best of all, it's not recorded and there's no censorship. You can freely speak your mind without any worries. All you have to do is join my Patreon at tier number 1, and you'll gain access to this one-of-a-kind gathering. Visit patreon.com/comeonmanpod. That's patreon.com/comeonmanpod. Or click the link in the description. It's like the good old days when men would get together and talk about man stuff without being bothered by women. Sometimes guys just need a good group of men to hang out with. It's good for our mental health. Don't miss out on the camaraderie and conversation. Join us today and let your voice be heard. Visit my Patreon page and sign up now. Cheers to freedom of speech and great company. All right, joining me this week is 3% brother David. He was referred to me by 3% brother Luke, and we got him into the 3% Brotherhood group on Facebook. He was on his search for a good woman at the time, and I believe he's found one, if I'm not mistaken. Is that right?
Yes, that's right. Yep.
That's right. How did you get in contact with Luke?
Well, okay, so I started the process of divorce last year. It finished a few months ago, but it had been coming for a while. I realized that my wife wasn't making me happy. I had been a people pleaser to her for a long time. I never felt like my needs were getting met. So I left the marriage. I had a few months where I was getting dates, but I was a toxic mess because I didn't know what I wanted. I didn't know my path. I had already started my path to becoming kind of a stronger male, but I was still kind of not putting my needs first. And I ran into my coach Benny on TikTok actually, and Luke is part of that group, and I became a paid client with Benny and just started learning to assert my needs first and how to approach some things. And he was dead on right about a lot of the dating that I went through.
Mm-hmm.
And it was weird that the girl that I'm with now, I was actually with almost immediately. It was just kind of a weird thing, but I wasn't sure. I mean, coming out of a divorce and everything else. So I wanted to clarify what I wanted so that when I stepped into more of a committed relationship with her, that I could set proper boundaries, that I could be the man in the relationship, and set the path, and not let myself get into the phase where she was dictating the relationship through her emotions, and had been my past tendency.
Got it. Hey, are you on a laptop?
Yes.
Can you bend the thing down just a little bit so you're more in frame?
Yeah.
Cool, because these are all going to be in TikTok clips,
Okay. All right.
Yeah, Benny's a good dude, man. He and I met through the original 3% Man group. He was sort of like the resident dating coach at the time. And when I first met him, he was just getting started with the coaching business. And he taught us all, and you probably learned this too, but he taught us all the value of sending video and voice messages and stuff to women, and how that really sets you apart and stuff like that. He's a good dude.
Well, it's like, what it comes down to, and the businesses I'm in involve marketing and sales and things like that.
Yeah.
The most effective marketing is either in person, Zoom, phone call, text, last, and blanket messages by far, down the line. If you set yourself apart, it doesn't matter what you're at. If you're who you are and you send those relevant messages and kind of present, hey, I'm this person, people respond. It doesn't matter whether it's dating or sales or heck, just meeting somebody in the parking lot.
Yeah, definitely. So, so you've obviously read How to Be a 3% Man, because you wouldn't be able to get into the 3% Man group or 3% Brotherhood now without it. What was it? A recommendation from Benny that led you to that book, or had you
Yes.
read it before?
No, it was, I think, the very first book he recommended, and then there were 3 or 4 others I went after, and they were all just kind of a feed on that. And I got a little confused by parts of it, so I got in contact with Luke directly, and we went back and forth, and then he got me hooked up with you, and then I got in part of the group, and I think I'm on my 4th or 5th reading of it now. I've kind of bent off and doing some other stuff. I'm actually reading Corey Wayne's other book on success, I think. I can't remember the name of it. It's on an audio book, but he's got another one. It basically was the one that followed 3%.
Oh, yeah. That one is on. Oh, man. What is that one on? It's on. I read that.
Sales and business success and how to.
Yeah, it's very autobiographical, his second book.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's like a self-reliance book, I guess. I can't remember.
Exactly.
Yeah. I was a big fan of that book, but his third book, I don't know if you've had a chance to get to that one. It's like quotes, ruminations, and quotes, contemplations, and ruminations, or something like that.
No.
That was actually not too bad. That was a pretty good book.
Okay, I'll take a look at it.
But but 3% Man, in my opinion, it's really like all of his other books are sort of like, they're good to read. They're sort of like a one and done for me. But 3% Man's one that I highly recommend people read multiple times.
Yeah, because you tend to find yourself falling back on old tendencies, and it's a matter, if you keep it in the forefront, it allows you to frame yourself, if you do fall off the wagon a little bit, which always happens, just with stress and everything else, it allows you to come back to being centered.
Yeah, I agree with that. There's so many guys in the group that, and I make all sorts of like shorts and stuff about it. But I've seen it over the last 3 years of being in the group. Guys will get themselves, like, they'll read the book, they'll read it multiple times, they'll go dating, they'll practice the principles, they'll get into a relationship, and then they stop reading the book. And then you can't just like undo. How old are you?
57.
Right. You can't undo 57 years of programming, in just like 4 reads. You can't do it. You can't do it in a matter of like a year or a couple months. That's something that it's just constant work. You've spent your whole life being taught a certain way about what relationships are. And then like relationships aren't working out for whatever reason. And then you find this material and you're like, oh crap, like I've been doing this wrong my whole life. You can't just undo that, so you gotta keep at least once a year revisiting it, at least once, Yeah. So you said you've read it about 4 times now. And you also mentioned you've read some other books. Which ones?
Atomic Attraction was one. There's another one I can't remember, and then there's a book about people. No More Mr. Nice Guy. That was a really revolutionary book for me too, because I kind of moved past it through the 3%, but it's very, it's just seeing it defined as what they mean, because the debate about nice guy and, who pays first or who pays everything on a date, and traditional woman versus feminist, all of that, gets confusing. And if you frame yourself that you're just kind of who you are, then you're going to attract what you want to attract. I'm one that pays for the first date, but if there's nothing going forward, I'm not paying for everything, and I'm not my money's ours, her money's hers sort of thing. I want a true partnership. Other people aren't like that, and that's fine. But I
Mhm.
spent 30 years in a marriage doing that, and I feel like I never got the reciprocity, and there has to be equal energy brought, whether it's financial, emotional, both of you working. There's so many ways to frame a relationship, and it's so hard to define,
Mhm.
on the first, second, or third date. But anyway, uh, it's made sense and allowed me to say, okay, this is what I wanted. And when I look back on a few of my first or second dates where I did something weird in my mind, um, I figured out it was because something they did triggered me
Mm.
in a way. Because I might say, hey, oh, they might offer to split. And I said, yeah, let's split. And they never want to go out again because I didn't like them much to begin with anyway. So, I mean, it was just kind of, that's not really what 3% talks about, but
Mhm.
um, it's allowed me to get rid of people I would, or women I really wouldn't be that interested in.
Yeah, I think that's a concept that a lot of guys just don't quite get until they start studying this stuff or they get with a coach like Benny. Is that a lot of guys are trying to qualify themselves to the women that they go out with. Like every
Hmm.
woman they go out with, they're trying to qualify to her. Whereas when you learn this stuff, you sort of reframe it to where you're the one that's doing the interviewing and you're the one that's cutting out the chicks that don't meet your specifications.
Right.
It's a totally different way to date. And when you do that, it's such a more positive way of dating, I think,
Hmm.
because otherwise, on the flip side, when you're trying to qualify yourself to these women, like you sort of come across as needy, and then it just gets really frustrating because you can't, like, none of these women like you because you're coming across as an unattractive person by
Yeah, and
doing that.
I did for a few months, until I kind of figured it out, and then it was pretty easy to, I remember one date I went on, I liked her, and I thought a thing, but I was having to lead every text conversation. I noticed for the next 2 days after the first date, if I didn't write something, she didn't respond. I stopped writing. It fell apart. That was
Yep.
fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's no low engagement on her part, or she's playing some game I'm not interested in playing. So.
What's funny is so I recently did a live stream on Girl Game, right? On like
Hmm.
the 35 rules of Girl Game. It comes from the book The Rules. And one of the rules from this book, it came out in like the 90s, the lady who wrote the book teaches women is that uh don't, like, you should not initiate any text messages. Like he should be the one doing it. But it's like that's terrible advice, because
Hmm.
that really just, like, if a guys like us that are studying from the opposite direction, we're looking for women that have interests. Like we want to walk through those open doors, and that just tells us that you're not interested. And
Right.
we're more about actions over words at this point. So yeah, I think that's funny. Women that don't do that though tell you everything you need to know about them. They're not
Exactly.
interested. Yeah.
Exactly. And
So yeah.
and more or less, sometimes how what I do for a woman tells me my interest in her.
Mm,
So I mean, if it's I might give somebody a little more leeway if I'm more interested in them than not, but not much. But with my girlfriend, she lost her job about a week ago, and she's younger and hasn't had the years of job searching that I have, particularly in the new market. And so I spent, like, yesterday, I was doing some training, but alternatively I was on my iPad also looking up Indeed jobs for her because I know her very well, and I was applying her for jobs that she might not have considered.
mhm,
And would I do that for anybody else? No.
mhm.
I mean, it's interest on both sides. We balance each other well in different ways. So
Yeah. Does she appreciate that?
yes.
Okay. Has she gotten any interviews from that, like that she wouldn't have expected? Like, oh, I never thought about doing a job like this, or
She hasn't gotten the interviews yet. She's getting responses back, but she lost her job a week ago Friday. I took her on vacation out to Arizona for 5 days just to get out because when that happened, to visit my family. When that happened, I wanted her to get out of her feelings a little bit, have some fun, and then come back to it. So we didn't really start applying until Thursday. So yeah, this
Yeah.
holiday weekend, nothing yet. But there's about 25 jobs out there. I think we've applied for her for. She's done some.
Yeah.
I've done some for her, and I've made a couple of suggestions, but now I'm just kind of letting her run with whatever she needs to run with.
Okay. Yeah. Cool. That's very, very nice of you.
Yeah,
um,
it may be too nice, guy. I don't know, but
yeah,
she responds. She responds. So
that's good. As long as she's appreciating it, that's all.
yeah.
Like that's cool. That's cool. So these other books, how would you say, like, especially Atomic Attraction, and
Mhm.
I have my own thoughts on it, but how would you say that they differed from 3% Man and like the message in
Um.
that?
Well, I mean, no more Mr. Nice Guy. That really has nothing to do with 3% Man. That's more getting out of people pleasing us. So Atomic Attraction was more about attraction theory and how to maintain attraction throughout. Um, I think there's a lot of validity to it. I mean, 3% atomic attraction was more about, hey, here are the processes you can do to become more attractive to individual women,
Hmm.
right? But it also felt like it was more of a recipe that you needed to follow rather than being your own self. Now, that's not totally true. I mean, it's designed to get you to the point. It's a recipe you follow and you get to the point.
Hmm.
3% was just kind of in your face. Here are the rules. They're very simple. You don't let XYZ. You don't let them dictate. You don't do calls, tell them you're going to be there or not. And in fact, their reaction to that can often tell you a lot. Um, and then I know there's a whole thing about attraction theory that you see on TikTok and things like that. There is a lot of truth to that part because even with my girlfriend, if I deviate from my frame for a little bit, she doesn't pull away, but she's definitely slightly less engaged. And so I see atomic attraction more as a if you see something happening, through life. Like say we get married down the line, and she's doing her own thing, and I do my own thing, and I notice that we're drifting apart a little bit. Then you need to kind of come back to what atomic attraction tells you.
Hmm.
It's more of a long-term relationship thing. 3%, was more about, you need to be the man, you need to live your life, you need to dress well, you need to present well, you need to have a purpose for your life. I mean, atomic attraction has some of the same stuff, but I just didn't find it as I couldn't tell you anything I learned in atomic attraction at this point, even after listening to it twice. 3% still sticks with me.
Got it. Okay. Yeah. I found that certain things like in Atomic Attraction worked better for me than things in 3% Man.
Yeah.
And another book is Dr. Glover's Dating Essentials for Men was one that I highly recommend people read
Okay.
because that one goes very really hand in hand with Corey's work. It also bridges the gap between No More Mr. Nice Guy and Corey's work, I would say.
Okay.
But yeah, like things, for instance, like a good example in Atomic Attraction versus Corey is Corey recommends, like, if a girl like sort of flakes out on you, right? You say, okay, no worries, perhaps another time, give her the takeaway, and then you try again the next week, Whereas Atomic Attraction is like if a girl says, I can't make it, and it doesn't give you any sort of alternative time, just don't reply to it. And
Yeah, well, that's that. Yeah, that
yeah,
would be more me. Yeah, I
yeah,
agree. That's right. That is a difference. Yeah,
yeah,
I really don't give second chances if they don't um, give a positive feedback
yeah.
or something like, hey, I'm sorry, my grandmother died or something like that. Can we do it in 2 weeks? And I'm like, sure, get back in touch if you want. I put it in their court, and if they never respond, so be it.
Yeah. And then also you mentioned a good thing too, and this is actually good that you mentioned this, but Corey recommends not confirming for dates.
Right.
Did you follow that? Did you go with that method?
Yes, I did actually. And it's never been a problem, really. I mean, unless they say, usually I don't confirm. If I don't confirm, they confirm. If they're really interested. If they're not, I mean, I remember I was meeting somebody in Dallas, and I didn't confirm. We had confirmed a couple of days before. I was driving up and I was waiting at the restaurant, and I was like, "Where are you?" And she said, "Well, you didn't confirm, so I thought you weren't coming." And I'm like, "You could have reached out." So I packed up and came home.
Hmm. Yeah, I had that. I had that happen like once or twice. Testing out Corey's method. I ended up going with. There's a guy named Dave Parada. He's a YouTuber, and he also wrote a really good book called The Lifestyle Blueprint that I recommend people read, especially younger guys. It was good for younger guys.
Yeah,
But he recommends what he calls the confirm method. So you confirm like the evening before, and then what I found with that, because Corey in the book talks about how confirming is needy behavior, which I disagree with.
I
And
agree.
especially it really it depends on how you do it, how you frame it, you know. So what David would recommend is confirming the night before. That way, if she was going to flake, because usually chicks are just flaky, you know. And so if they were going to flake, usually they're going to flake anyway. So this gives them their opportunity to flake, and then you don't waste your time going out to a venue and then being stood up, you know. And then he also recommends confirming the next day, but typically if they've already confirmed the night before, there's no reason to confirm the next day, I think. But still, I used to like to confirm, especially because for me, going on a date typically meant a 2-hour round trip.
Oh yeah,
I was either driving an hour to Grand Junction to meet somebody, or I was driving an hour to Montrose to meet somebody, because I live out in cow country. You know,
yeah. I know where you're at. I used to live in Denver, and I used to go to Telluride all the time, so I know people in Montrose and Grand Junction too. So
okay. Yeah. So, you know, like, yeah, between Telluride and Montrose,
mhm.
you know, there's Ridgeway, but
Yeah.
there's nothing out there, man.
No, I
It's
know.
just,
Ouray, Telluride, Durango, and Durango's over a pass. So, half the year it's hard to even get there. So,
yeah. It's funny. People call Montrose like poor man's Telluride, because that's where all the, you know, the lower income people that like to hang out in Telluride, they all live in Montrose.
yeah, I'm not a big fan of Telluride in general, but I mean,
There's
it's nice for a couple of days. So,
there's nothing to do there unless you're a skier.
exactly.
Unless you're a skier, that's really the only thing to do there. Otherwise,
Yeah.
it's a very small town. There's some overpriced shops there, and that's about it.
Yeah,
About
that's
it.
right.
There's a cool waterfall there, though. I took Nurse
Oh, I
Chick.
know. I know. I've
Yeah,
got my next corporation's probably going to be named after that waterfall. Actually, we used to do a couple of days every day. This is when I was married.
yeah.
Out there every summer. So
Oh, okay. Yeah, the last time I went there, I took Nurse Chick to the waterfall. We went hiking up to the waterfall, and then on the way out, just like a spur of the moment thing, I was like, "Let's go to Tom Cruise's house." And because you could just like look that up
mhm.
online. And so we went looking around, driving around looking for Tom Cruise's house, ended up like in front of his gate.
Yeah, I found that too. Found that too. Yeah, I think Oprah. I think I looked. I think we found Oprah's house, but I don't remember. It's been a few years.
Yeah, yeah. Oprah's you can find Oprah's house up there too, but they're all in a gated community. You can't actually
Yeah.
go up to their house, just
No, you just
for
kind of see
people
both.
listening.
Yeah.
It's still fun to see though. Let's see here. What was your last aha moment you got from the last read of 3% Man?
Oh, good one. More or less, it would have been not to give too many chances, and I mean, I'm not a casual. I don't like to casually date. I'm not somebody that just goes out and sleeps around with somebody or something like that,
Mhm.
unless I have a connection with them. And so, if I'm not getting feedback pretty quickly after date three or something like that, I'm done. There has to be engagement. Like I said, I don't really care if they pay. That's never been the issue, but it's all about, are they giving me feedback that says, hey, I'm into you, and not just killing time while I'm waiting for my guy over here,
Mhm.
sort of thing. And really, that's what my current girlfriend and I broke up probably in the last year 4 times, I think. 3 times, 4 times. She's a lot younger than I am, and so I was always worried about that. But her actions consistently showed she was into me. She was not a player. She's not a partier. Great work ethic. Really wanted, she was really into my entrepreneurship and all that. And my family loves her. I mean, they were real skeptical at first too, but they're like, you found a good one here. But it's taken a while. I mean, heck, we had a fight last night just over communication. Just okay. It was just basic sex stuff. I mean, it's like I wanted it, she didn't, then she wanted it, and I was tired, and we just we had a little bit of a fight about that. But that was just normal. It's like, you need. She said, just be more direct with me. And I said, well, you can't joke with me about wanting sex and then saying you were just joking with me. You got to be upfront. So it's about, in certain situations, don't be joking around about it.
Mhm.
And I got frustrated and I probably yelled a little bit, and that shut her down a lot. And so it was an aha moment, another one, that her trauma from her childhood was like, just keep it soft. But I also said, you need to be receptive to what I'm saying.
Mhm.
And so anyway, it's, um, I've gotten to the point, with her though, that, I hate to say the word ride or die. But because I don't believe in that. I believe there's a lot of different women that could make you happy at a different point, but I'm also not willing to let her go unless it got really toxic. And honestly, this is the healthiest relationship I've had.
Mhm.
Just in terms of just being able to hang. And the longer we're together, the more we want to be together.
Yeah. How
If we,
so you said that you guys have gotten together and broken up like 4 times.
yeah,
But so you met her last year
right
initially?
after my separation. Yeah. I mean, actually, right before the separation, we met at a business event, and then she found out I was separated and she wanted to date. And we went out, and I would just say her last relationship had been 3 years, and she was never in love with him. She didn't really know what it was. And she claims to have fallen deeply in love with me, but she didn't know how to be in a relationship. And so a lot of the stuff I was telling her, she had to experience for herself.
Mhm.
And so when I say we broke up, it wasn't like bad breakups. It was more or less, I mean, because she kind of worked for one of my companies after we met. I mean, this we didn't meet through that. We were kind of dating before that.
Mhm.
And there were just stresses that were involved with that. And I was a toxic mess too. I was trying to figure out what I wanted. And so I might just say, hey, let's date others. We can still date and all that. But she never really did. She went on a couple of dates and that was it. And she was, I'd say, a lot more engaged in me than I was in her for a while, until really my divorce finalized. And then
Mhm.
it took a few months to get the final agreement from the judge. We settled like in November, and it took till March before the judge signed off on it.
Mm.
And in her culture, she's a Latina. She felt she was not fully engaged because in their culture, it's more, um,
You're still
she would be
technically
looked down.
married until it's final.
She would be looked down upon by everybody. Yeah.
Mm. Gotcha. Um, so okay, so the last time you guys got together, I think it was probably when you posted about it in the group, which wasn't that long ago. So how long?
March. Yeah.
Okay, so it's been since March. Okay.
Yeah. We broke up for about 2 weeks after Valentine's Day. She went to visit her folks, came back. So call it the 1st of March. So we've been back together, almost 3 months now.
Okay.
Um, and she spends weekends with me. But since she's lost her job, we went on the trip to visit my folks. This first time they had met her. um we weren't going to be together. We were together over the weekend, and then, or excuse me, the last part of the week. And then she was like home for a day, and she said, I miss you, can I come back over? So she was over for 2 days. I just took her home this morning. I'm dog sitting at a friend's house for a day, and then I'll probably see her again probably Wednesday and whatever. I mean, it just, You never know. We live 20 minutes apart, so it's not really a problem. And I have the better place to stay. And it's like, she's looking for jobs up in my area. And if she does, maybe we move in, maybe we don't. I don't know yet.
Got it. Yeah, things are still pretty new, it sounds like then, you
Yeah.
know. Yeah. Yeah, one thing that took me a while to understand, um, and I learned it from Corey's book too. I think Dr. Glover's Dating Essentials for Men talks about it as well, but it's like almost like you don't really get to know someone until about 6 months to a year into a relationship too, because that's really like usually people are on their best behavior,
Hmm.
like in the initial stages. So it's sort of like it's probably best to wait that out,
We've known each other for a year, but we've probably spent 4 or 5 months of that where we weren't really interacting except just on text because we text every day. I mean, regardless, even when we were broken up.
Mhm.
And it was always a feeling, it was always kind of like saying, is there something better out there? And then I realized what a toxic mess a lot of women are at my age. And, there's really not much difference between dating somebody in their 20s and dating somebody in their 50s, when it
Except
comes
for
to
they're
potential
a little bit
problems.
hotter in their 20s.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And they're a little bit less experienced.
Yeah.
We run into a lot of, issues with vocabulary.
Yep.
I'll say something and she has no clue. I mean, we saw Laura Dern on a show the other night, and I was like, oh yeah, she was in Masked or something like that, and no clue. So
Yeah.
we
That's
we
what
have to pick our social media stuff, but we find common interests. We find movies we like together, series we like together. She's very into Hispanic culture, Mexican culture, and I picked up her music. She's picked up some of mine. But we have enough differences, that makes it fun.
yeah. Yeah, that was one thing, I talked to Richard Cooper about this too. But, when I was dating, because 'cause I'm in my 40s, I would follow the half your age plus 7 rule typically
Uh,
and now I'm not saying like that's what guys have to
right.
do, right?
Yeah.
Like, but that's what I would do. Sort of, I thought it was a decent rule of thumb for me. And because like when I would date younger than that, dating girls in their like mid 20s and stuff like that, I found the same thing where it was like we had totally different pop culture references. I didn't understand what she was talking about. They didn't understand what I was talking about, and I was just like, man, I just can't connect with these chicks. So the personal preference was like,
Mhm.
okay, I like these gals that are in their very late 20s, like early 30s. Like
Right.
that was my sweet spot. But yeah, Rich Cooper told me, he's like, well, save that kind of shit for your boys, save the pop culture references stuff for your
Hmm.
boys and stuff like that. And then, just have her for, different stuff. It was like, okay, I can see how that could work out for sure.
Yeah.
Um, so you say you text with her every day.
Hmm.
So you did you skip that part in the book where it talks about how like, texting and phone
Oh,
calls are for
I'm talking. I'm
logistics?
talking about after we were in the relationship. I mean, when we first met, no. I mean, she was actually the one that pursued me. Um, she lived with me for a couple of weeks before she kind of moved. Well, long story. We lived together for a couple of weeks, and then she was gone for a month and a half. And during that, went back to visiting her folks. And during that time, we hardly talked at all.
Mhm,
Maybe text once a week or something like that. But primarily, I remember she started working for me about 8 months ago, and because she and I were in a relationship, she was able to keep me informed about problems because I run very passive investment businesses, and she was able to keep me informed of where problems were. Um, but yeah, I mean, I don't over engage with her even now. I mean, it's like, and generally she's the one that says good morning. A lot of times we never say good night. It just fades, whatever. It's just as needed. There's no, there's no neediness. And, you see that all the time. Women say, oh, I need the good morning, good night. I'm not going to do that. if it fits great, but it comes across as, as validating behavior, and you're chasing them instead of them chasing you.
Hmm.
So with her, um, I dropped her off a couple hours ago, and she was dead tired, and she went to sleep, and she just wrote. I just got up, and I said, I've applied for a couple of jobs for you, and she said, thank you. I'm going to be talking to my dad and cleaning. Great, and that was it. I don't know. I haven't checked. I mean, I'll
Hmm.
check. She may wrote, she may not. So
Yeah, even even now, just because I used to be one of those guys before I got into this stuff. I used to be one of those guys that was like addicted to texting. A lot of
yeah,
guys are. A lot of guys are. It's funny because like you said too, a lot of women are like, "Oh no, I need that good morning and good night text." They say that, but you start doing that, and like they're like for whatever reason, they're like, "Man, this guy's needy,"
mhm.
like their monkey brain can't deal with it. So it's like they don't listen to what they say. Just
No, I know.
pay
No,
attention to what they do.
it's just as it comes up.
No, but I'm talking to the
Yeah.
people
Oh yeah.
listening. But yeah, so anyway, like I used to be addicted to that dopamine hit you would get when you got the text message. It was like so powerful that when I finally broke my habit of it, like I still haven't continued that with Nurse Chick. So like Nurse Chick and we actually don't text. Like we text very limitedly. And she usually she does like sending me good morning texts, so she'll do it on occasion. But sometimes there'll be like a day or two that goes by where like we haven't said anything to each other, on the
Yeah.
weeks that I don't see her. So that's just me. It seems to be working out pretty good though. But like I really have stuck to the whole idea of like it's more for logistics, and
Yeah.
I so but all right. So we talked about some of these already. Give me some other 3% man principles you've implemented in your dating life and in your current relationship.
Okay. Well, in general, okay. So there was one woman I went out with. There were a couple, and I had to learn from this. One who would not give me her number. She was from, I can't even remember now, Zeus maybe. And the guys kept telling me that's not a good sign, and so I stopped talking to her, and she came back and she said, why aren't you talking to me anymore? And I said, you wouldn't give me your number. And I said, then I tried again, you wouldn't give me your number again. I should have cut it off at the first one. And she said, well, I was looking for you to make the plans for us to meet. And I said, okay. And Benny was like, that's not a good sign, it's never going to work. Dead on right, it was a
Yeah.
bad date, and all that. But there was another one that I went out with, and she was testing me. She came back. We had a third date planned, and she said, "Oh, it was on a Thursday. We were going to go bowling, and then she was going to have like friends at her house for like 10 days, and so it's going to be the only time we're going to see each other for the next like 3 weeks, except." And she's always really bad about reaching out. She had given me some signs at first that she was really interested, and I thought I bowed to that a little bit. And so then she moved it to Wednesday. She said, "Hey, can we move it to Wednesday?" And I should have just said, "No, let's wait till after you're done." Right? That was
Hmm.
the mistake. I won't do that again. So I did move it to Wednesday, and then she came back and she said, "Oh, my Bible study's on Wednesday. Can we move to Tuesday?" Well, that was her test. And then
Mm.
she canceled Tuesday morning. So I mean, it was like, and I just said, you want to reach back out, reach back out. So that was my way of saying, bad behavior. I should have cut it off at the beginning. That was still in my transitory phase.
Hmm.
And of course, I've never heard from her again. I mean,
Yeah.
and yeah, that was normal. More like in my dating life, I have definitely upgraded down my haircut. I need to get a new haircut, get it a little shorter. But I upgraded my wardrobe. I usually work out every day using a piece of resistance band equipment. I eat healthy. I went from 220 to 184 where I'm at now, and I'm going to hardcore it down to about 170. Try to get healthy because all of that, the sleep, and I don't sleep real well, but enough sleep, eating healthy, exercising, dressing nice, accentuating, a nice watch, a nice ring, maybe a bracelet, maybe a necklace sometimes to look comfortable, because when I feel comfortable dressed up, I present better, but much more. I tend to engage with anybody in public, anybody that's receptive, and that's more or less because turning it on and turning it off on a date is very difficult,
Hmm.
because it doesn't come across as authentic.
Yeah.
If that is who you are, then that is who you present to the world. It becomes a part of who is internal. And I'm used to be really or introverted, and now people say, "Oh, you're an extrovert." And I'm like, I'm kind of edgy both way. I'm happy at home by myself too, but I like to, if I'm out in public and I run up against somebody, I'll talk to him. Guy, girl, doesn't matter. If they're open to it,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know.
Is that something you learned from Benny?
Um, Yes, that was something I learned from Benny, but it was also something in Atomic Attraction. I don't think it was in 3%. Again, it's hard to remember sometimes where all the ideas come from,
Yeah, I don't think Corey
but
talks about like talking to random people. They definitely talk about it in Dating Essentials for Men, but specifically, I learned the concept. I had already learned it from Dating Essentials for Men, but I learned the term social momentum from Benny, and
hmm,
and he was talking about how like on a day of a date, go out and literally talk to everybody, gas station attendant, everybody on your
mhm.
way. That way, when you get to the date, you already have that momentum where you're like social. I
Yeah,
learned that from Benny. Yeah.
I remember I was going on a date and it didn't work out, but I was at a convenience store. I was early, so I went to the convenience store, and there's a younger Pakistani Indian girl, probably in her young 20s or something like that, and she had the most beautiful bracelet. So I just started talking to her about a bracelet, and turned into a 10-minute conversation about her mother, her controlling mother, how she was dating and stuff like that. And I walked out. I couldn't even picture her now, and never got her name, but it energized me. It was like, okay, I made an effect on somebody. And then there's this older guy in my apartment complex, and he was wearing a University of Michigan jersey, and he's walking a dog. And he's probably 80s and stuff like that, and very mobility. And I said, those are fighting words, man, because I graduated from University of Oklahoma, so we're kind of football rivals.
Hmm.
And then he proceeded to tell me about how his son took him to a University of Michigan game. It was the most meaningful moment of his life because he had never gotten to go to one in the last 6 months. And now I see him all the time, and he knows who I am, and he just recently got a dog, and we talk. And there's probably 10 people in my apartment complex who recognize me just in general. Hey, just, and it's all because I reached out on the elevator, in the hallway,
Hmm.
in the parking garage or whatever.
Yeah.
And
That's great. That's great. I think that's probably I think that's the biggest challenge for most guys is just being more social, just talking to people in general. Because I mean, the age we live in an internet culture where we only interact with people on social media now. So it's like a lost art just talking to your neighbors. It's,
a lot of women are horrible at it. I mean, you go on dates and they don't know how to converse at all.
oh yeah.
And maybe you make them uncomfortable. I don't know, but
Did you find it when you were on the dating circuit? I assume you met most women like on apps and stuff too.
apps, or I did a matchmaking service for a while, which was not really good, but
Okay.
because you showed up, it was a total blind date. And I told Benny this, they would set up a blind date for you, would show up, you would know their name, maybe their race, if
Hmm.
they even told you that, and very generic stuff. Those never worked out, except I did get a really good friend through it. She was like 20 years older than me, which I couldn't believe they set me up with, but she was actually a world-renowned biochemist and a CEO of a company, and we became good friends. And she's found her guy since then. But she's somebody I can bounce business ideas off of. So I mean, it's never a total waste.
Hmm.
But anyway, it was a matter of learning who I could be comfortable with and who I could be, more than just social. Because social is one thing, but being comfortable is a totally different thing.
Yeah. Yep. But when you were meeting these women on the
Yeah.
apps, like,
Mhm.
did you find it like there was some women where like it was just like you had to pull a goddamn conversation out of them, and I got to the point where if I was like the one that was just constantly trying to pull a fucking conversation, I just unmatch them. I'd be like,
Oh
we're
yeah.
done. This isn't
Yeah.
gonna work out.
Well, Bumble was like that a lot. You remember Bumble is where they have to contact you first.
Yeah,
And
Bumble's
usually
trash.
the first
Yeah.
message is, "Hey, how are you? Hello." And I'm like, if I did that to you,
Yeah.
I would never get. But just for an example, yeah, you're right. I mean, there's plenty of people that will do that. I flew into Charlotte, North Carolina, and I had Bumble and Tinder on, and I was there for 4 days. I ended up with 3 dates, all within an hour and a half of Fayetteville, where I was visiting a friend of mine, and went on 3, maybe 4 dates. I can't remember. None of them worked out, but it was all because of conversational skills. But yes, if they a lot, as you said, a lot of women do not know how to converse. They want the guy to lead the conversation, but then they don't know how to feed back to you
Hmm.
in any way. And I'm just like, okay, this is, maybe there would be a chance, but you can't give everybody, 4 dates. If you do, for one, if you're dating 4 women and you're doing 4 dates and you're getting new dates, I mean, I was going on 8 new dates a week for a while. And
Hmm.
that got overwhelmingly hard. And I was like, I need to just, if somebody is not like quick, we have good rapport almost, after date one, forget it. And especially texting.
Yeah. Yeah, I 8, man. There's guys out there that they're like, I can't even get one date. And I'm like, "God, it's actually not that hard to
No.
stack up your dates. It really isn't. 8 would be way too much for me. I did find like like 4 was like my max
Yeah.
that I
Well,
could
I hardly
I
had
could
to travel very far. I'm
yeah.
talking 10 or 15 minutes from my house. Just go for dinner. So it's not,
Yeah.
wasn't a big deal. Have you ever heard of Sabrina Zohar on TikTok?
No. Mm-mm.
Okay, you got to look her up. She is I think she does relationship coaching, but she is sort of somebody that needed the dopamine hit from texting, and now she's like she found her guy, and she's still a mess. She's an avoidance and all this other stuff, but she finally got into a relationship with a guy who didn't like to text, and it freaked her out. And she said, now I realize that I was getting my dopamine hit from him, and a texting relationship means nothing.
Hmm.
And she said we would only talk when we got together on a date. Now they're in love 6 months in, and talking about moving in together and a bunch of other crap. I mean, so she's
Yeah.
yeah, she's a good one to see, but she's kind of got a limited message. I Richard Cooper is better, in that
That's what
stuff.
that's why it's like I personally sort of agree with Corey about not getting dating and relationship advice from women,
Hmm.
because a lot of women don't know what they really want, and
Hmm.
so like she thought she liked texting, but if you follow Corey's method where you actually save that to in person, and it does make it more meaningful, and like more women actually do respond better to that. So yeah.
Well, there's a clip going around on TikTok right now from the 80s, and I forget, it might be the Phil Donahue show. I can't remember what it was, but this
Oh,
guy comes out and he's geeky, wearing glasses, and he said I don't really care what women want. He said I do what works. He said there's three things. There's what women say they want, what women and well, I forget the second one, but then he said and
there's
what
things
they
that women
respond
say they
to.
want, what they think they want, and what they actually respond to.
Exactly,
Yeah,
exactly.
I quote that a lot too. That's Ross Jeffries. I don't know if you know who he is.
No, I didn't know. I just saw the clip.
If have you ever read the book The Game?
Mm-mm.
You should read it. It's a fun book. It's a fun book. It's about the pickup artist in the early 2000s. And Ross Jeffries, the guy in that clip, is one of the main guys, one of the prominent figures in that book. And he's like the king of using NLP, neuro linguistic programming,
Okay.
for picking up women, because he's not like the most attractive guy out there. Like if you
Oh, not at all.
if you see him today, he's a much older man now. He's got like a total like afro, just you would look at him and go, "What a creep looking dude!" But he could still pull women because he would he would basically hypnotize women on the spot with NLP. that was like his gimmick, but yeah, he's right though. There's things that women respond to versus what they say they want.
Well, and the funny part is if you're groomed and you're comfortable in your own skin, guys are always saying they need to be 6 foot, six figures. That's BS. No,
That's
you
a
do
cope.
not.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to present as somebody they feel safe being with,
Hmm.
that has it under control, that has an idea of what they're doing with their life. You have to, and yeah, you fake it till you make it if you're not, already there, and there's ways to do that, but you need to become an authentic 3% guy, that knows where they're going in life. And then you can pull it. That's essentially, I mean, there's these guys that don't look great. And women always, this may be the one true thing they say, is that women will notice a guy's looks, but it's much less important to them. And they do say that all the time, but guys will contradict that. Oh, you need to be an 8, 9, or 10. No, that's not true. But you have to present via body language, eye contact, interest in them, by asking them a lot of questions, and then they tend to reciprocate. And if they don't, you see that in dates. Usually for the first half hour, they may be really guarded, and then either they stay guarded, yeah, walk away, that's fine, or they open up.
Hmm.
And it's almost easy to see just in body language how they change, how they shift into that.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a key concept that I had to learn too, was just a lot of the stuff that Corey teaches in the book comes straight out of How to Win Friends and Influence People.
Yeah, I read
Just
that book a long time ago.
yeah, just taking a genuine interest in people actually makes them like you more, and
Hmm.
it has nothing to do with your looks. But yeah, I mean, the body language is so important. It's just like you have to present this whole package,
Hmm.
and
Think
yeah,
think about in high school. Think about who were the most popular. I mean, there was always the beautiful cheerleaders, right? People would envy them on their looks because nobody knew any better. The star athlete and stuff like that, but they rarely had anything to offer. Never really. Most of them didn't do anything after high school. In my high school, I went to school with 1,000 people per grade. So I mean, it was a huge social. The people that connected the most were the ones that asked the most question of others. I have an older son who is a nice looking kid, but he's mildly autistic, right? He doesn't read into social cues, but what he learned was if he talked to people and asked about them, that they responded. At his graduation, he had a standing ovation from about 1,300 kids. And he was on an IEP and special ed classes because every time in the hallways, he would just greet them, know all their story and everything else. My younger son was valedictorian and all that, but has no game whatsoever. Hasn't been on, he's 24, never been on a date. And that's going to develop. I work on him all the time. But it was just scattered clapping, because
mm,
nobody knew who he was. And that was a revolutionary idea to me, even seeing my son graduate. It was like, Blake's gonna have a hard life in front of him a little bit, but he thrives and he's happy most of the time, but it's all because he's social
mhm.
and knows everybody and their stories.
Yeah. Um, so your younger son, did you give him a copy of the book?
Not yet. I should. I
Yeah.
should. He went on it was funny. Some girl asked him out for his birthday,
Mhm.
and she spent 4 hours with him at a restaurant. And they got into political arguments because she's very left, he's very right.
Yeah.
I'm more centrist. And I came back and I said, Brendan, no woman spends 4 hours with you on your birthday when they barely know you if they don't have anything into you. And then he started giving me all the reasons why she wouldn't be a good fit. And I said, well, that's fine. I
Yeah.
said, but dude, this is the first woman you've ever had that really showed genuine interest in who you are. You need to cultivate that a little bit. Maybe,
Yeah.
maybe the politics is a deal breaker for you. That's fine. But work on your game a little bit.
Yeah. One thing that guys don't understand is that women are often a reflection of their man. And if the man has got good, solid frame and he's a good leader, it doesn't matter what her political beliefs are because she's eventually going to come around to your side.
Right.
So it's like so man, guys really need to stop putting their foot in their mouth and talking politics on dates. It's like
Yeah.
that dries up a woman so bad. Just
That or
keep
past
things upbeat.
relationships.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Until you know them, then you say, all right, here's what happened in my last relationship. I don't want it to happen again. But even then, you keep it, very general. I mean, that's
Yeah.
one thing that causes trouble in my current relationship is if I ever indicate I've ever thought about my ex. If she brings it up, like she was in my phone the other day. She was just looking at pictures. We don't track each other. We don't track text and all. And she said, "Oh, this is a good picture of your ex." And I said, "Yeah." Yeah. I said, "But that's one of the only few good times we had." But if I'm like driving by and I said, "Oh, whatever," it's not that it's a fight. I just see a change in her demeanor. So it's
Mhm.
funny. Women get very territorial when it comes to their
I
men.
I highly recommend guys not talk about previous relationships
Hmm.
at all. Like it's
Yeah.
not a good idea. And if she brings it up, like I recommend changing the subject, or if you absolutely have to say something, like put a positive spin on it. But otherwise,
Oh yeah.
there's no
I,
reason to even talk about like, well, in my last relationship, this didn't work for me. Like I wouldn't even bring that up. I just
Yeah. It's
not a good
more,
idea.
now that we've been off and on for a year, it's become a little more topic of conversation,
Yeah.
but for about the 6 month period and then it's kind of dried up. But you're right.
Yeah.
I mean, I never talked bad about my ex. We just were incompatible. We were just very different people
Yeah.
ultimately.
Yeah,
So,
I can't avoid it because a lot of the past relationships is a part of my journey story, which I have
right.
to talk about a lot in the podcast. And Nurse Chick listens to every goddamn episode. Love you, babe. No, she's listening right now. But so I mean, I can't completely avoid it because she knows like my whole story. But like I never really ask her about her past relationships because I don't care. Um, I don't think that impacts our relationship. And then, you know, I when we're together, I try not to talk about our like past relationships too much, unless it pertains to the podcast and she's got a question or something.
Yeah.
But otherwise I for most
But
guys.
one thing I have also seen, I've had a couple women that I would say were really into me, and I was, pushing for exclusivity after 3 or 4 dates.
Mm,
And this was while I was on a breakup from my current girlfriend. And one was like toxic. No, that was a no right from the beginning. But another one, she never ever asked questions about me, ever. She never
mm,
said, "How's your day? What's going on with your business?" and stuff like that. And I just said to her, "Why don't you ask me questions about myself?" "Oh, we'll get to it. We'll get to it." And then it would never happen. And I dropped it right after that because I'm like, I'm a figurehead. I'm not your partner in
mhm.
that case. I mean, you want somebody that's genuinely interested in you. But yeah, I mean, there's certain topics you always avoid. Yeah.
So you said that you would push for exclusivity. Did you stop doing that after reading 3% Man? Because that's one
Oh,
thing that he talks
shit.
about.
They
Oh,
were
they
not me.
were. Oh, okay.
They were. Yeah, yeah. No, I never did. I was dating 3 or 4 people at the same time at that time, and I wouldn't push for exclusive till oh, at least a month, probably two. It depends on how many dates and how well they went, and did we have a variety of experiences, and do I feel like we could stop dating others? Then yeah, but that never happened. I mean, from their standpoint, they were like, there were two that were like, but I was still dating, including my current girlfriend
Uh-huh.
at the
But
same
but
time.
you would be the one that brought it up eventually?
Yes, no, no, no. They would bring it up. They were
Oh,
like,
okay.
"I'm not really comfortable with you, staying on the dating apps and all that." So usually, what would happen is I would unmatch from them so that they wouldn't see me, and I would still stay on.
Mm,
But I mean, it's kind of became just with these two, it kind of became a lie, and then I ended up breaking up with both of them because I just didn't. They were pushing too hard, too fast. I didn't know them. I
yeah,
did
yeah,
not
yeah.
know them. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that was one thing that I had to learn because when I found myself back on the dating circuit the second time uh after the divorce, I was pushing for a relationship, too quick.
Yeah.
I was that guy trying to lock women down, which makes guys come across as needy. And I just couldn't keep any of these chicks around. Had no idea what I was doing wrong until I read this and realized, oh no, it actually needs to be their idea. And in a healthy dating situation, they typically bring it up by the 7th or 8th date. And I was like, oh, okay. So just hang out, have fun, hook up. That's easy. I could do that.
Yeah. If it's date 2 or 3, there's usually an agenda underneath.
Yeah.
Or they're not true. I mean, how could they know you, really?
Right. Yeah. Good point. Well, we're almost at an hour here. Let me ask
Okay.
one more question, then we'll go ahead and wrap up here. So I'd like to ask guys in the group this, what does being a 3% man mean to you?
That I'm living my best life, that a woman is a compliment, and that's from Richard Cooper. A woman's a compliment to my life, not a need in my life. If it works out, great, but it's more about framing myself, trying to always be in my frame, trying to set proper boundaries, not come across as needy. I go back and forth on whether to share feelings or not. I generally don't. If I'm early in a relationship with my current girlfriend, I will sometimes because she's been through it with me. I mean, we've been through a lot of up and down with my businesses and things like that. So it's a little more that sort of thing. But in most cases, staying in your frame, being a strong man and recovering. We all have our downsides. I have my moments when I'm like, just defeated, something happens, but darn well I get sleep, I go exercise, I get out. If I'm feeling down, I go to a mall and I talk to people. I just engage with the salespeople or just walking around smiling, just to bring myself back to center. I mean, realizing we're all flawed. We all have our triggers. We're all going to have our down times, but not letting the world defeat you and taking enough time for yourself to build yourself up. I mean, not as a fake, but in reality. I mean, I'm in the midst of starting a whole new career while I have these passive investments. I had to sell 2 businesses, one of which I didn't want to get rid of, but was failing, and the other one was a failure. So I mean, I've got one that's about to take off, and another one that's been ongoing for about a year and a half. And I brought in partners, but I'm starting a whole new career for myself, something totally different than I never did, and it involves building relationships with people. So what did I learn? Everything they teach in that is 3% men,
Mm-hmm.
pretty much.
Yeah. Yeah. I noticed too that when I was on this path, learning this stuff, that it helped out in all areas of life, not just with women. It really helps out your business relationships. It helps out with your physical health. It's just an all around leveling up, which I do think is funny, because a lot of us as men go out on this journey because we're trying to find women. And the thing is that the thing that makes us more attractive to women makes us better men in general, all around. It's like women make us better.
And I find myself a lot more. I find myself a lot more picky. I see beautiful women all the time. My girlfriend, is a beautiful woman, but I see more beautiful women every day. But am I interested? No, it's just clinical. It's like, I know she's got her own issues and stuff. If I find the one that compliments me and makes me want to be a better person, that's, that helps. That's an additive to my life, not a, yeah. And I wouldn't say we balance each other. It's just we have different things that we do.
Mm-hmm.
She lost her job and she got defeated. And I'm like, look, you've got X, Y, and Z going for you. You were underemployed there. Let's get you on a path where you wanted to be. You were obsessing over this job and you weren't happy. And clearly you weren't happy.
Yeah.
So
good stuff. Good stuff. Well, David, thank you so much for joining me today, man. I'll give you the rest of your day back. I appreciate it.
Okay. All right. Have a good one.
David, thanks again for joining me today, brother. You're welcome back anytime. Just like, most of the guys that are in the 3% brotherhood right now, y'all are welcome back anytime if you've been on the podcast. If you are in the 3% brotherhood right now and you haven't been on the podcast, DM me, man. What are you waiting for? What are you waiting for? Get on the goddamn podcast, man. Tell us your story. Tell us your story. All right, that's pretty much all I have this week. Tune in Wednesday. I don't know what the live stream is yet because I am pre-recording this outro. But tune in Wednesday. I'm sure the live stream is going to be fire. Lives on Wednesday and Friday mornings are at 10 a.m. Eastern time. Every Wednesday and Friday mornings. I am having a lot of fun doing the live streams. I started doing those in January. Man, I'm having a good time with those. So tune in for those every Wednesday and Friday mornings. All Monday episodes are pretty much pre-recorded, but you know that already. All right, guys, if you guys haven't done so already, please like, subscribe, hit those notifications. If you guys haven't dropped a comment yet, what the fuck are you waiting for? Drop a goddamn comment. It helps us in the algorithm. Follow me on social media. The links are in the description. I'm on all the major platforms right now. Get on the email list.comeonmanpod.com. I'll send you some free stickers for your troubles. If you guys like these designs, they're available as merch, as t-shirts, hoodies, hats, coffee mugs, all the fun stuff at merch.comeonmanpod.com. And then check out the Practical Law of Attraction course, LOA.comeonmanpod.com. It's a mindset course. There's none of that woo-woo, positivity grift BS with it. It's a psychological course. Check it out. It will change your life. And then finally, get on the Patreon, patreon.com/comeonmanpod. You can join for as little as $10. Join us for our happy hour hangouts. They're hosted once a month. Everybody in the Patreon's invited, even if you're in just tier 1. All right, guys, that's all I have for this episode. Tune in Wednesday. We'll see you guys next time.
This has been the Come On Man podcast. New full episodes served hot every Monday morning on your favorite podcast platform of choice. So subscribe now. Follow Paul on social media. The links are in the description. Now, go out and get it.